Hello, everyone. This is Zach Carroll presenting his AIDS Around the World project, and I am presenting to you today the country of China. Now, before we talk about the AIDS information, let's talk a little bit about the geographic information. Most of you may know that the capital is Beijing because the 2012 Olympics were held there, but many of you may not know that China holds 1/5 of the population of the world. Now you may see a blank next to the mean income, but the mean income in China is anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 gross national income per capita. Most of the Chinese citizens live to their 70s, and 92% of the population can read and write, which is over a billion people. Now, as you can see, there's also many religions that are practiced in China, but some of them are considered illegal practices of faith. China's urban population surpassed that of the rural areas for the first time in the country's history after 3 decades of economic development encouraged farmers to seek better living standards in towns and cities. In 1979, the rural areas accounted for 81% of the population. China's urbanization has accelerated since Deng Xiaoping introduced capitalist reforms in the late 1970s, which lifted more than 200 million people out of poverty and transformed the nation into the world's second largest economy. Now, the other information that I included I thought was important was that China gained its independence in 1948, which isn't really that long ago. But more importantly, in October 2010, an Anhui province court began the trial in China's first reported case involving alleged HIV-based employment discrimination. I thought that was important because after watching the movie Philadelphia, we can relate to this. In this lawsuit, the university graduate named Zhao Wu filed a lawsuit against the Angwin Bureau of Education, claiming that city officials refused to grant him a teaching position based on his HIV-positive test results, quote, violated stipulations in relevant laws prohibiting discrimination against persons living with HIV/AIDS, and infringed upon the plaintiff's lawful right to enjoy equal employment, end quote. This just shows that HIV discrimination is not just in the US, it's everywhere. AIDS information. You may think 800,000 people living with HIV is a lot, and it is, but when you put that into perspective of 1.3 billion, it is a very small number. Actually, in a fraction, it is 0.1% of 100. Although China's HIV epidemic remains one of low prevalence overall, there are pockets of high infection among specific subpopulations, and the danger of the epidemic spreading further into the general population persists. This became evident in 2009 when China reported that AIDS had become the country's leading cause of death, surpassing tuberculosis and rabies. In China's past, HIV transmission was particularly high among injecting drug users, homosexual men, and former plasma donors. But recently, it is discovered that heterosexual sex has become the dominant transmission route. Nearly half of all people living with HIV at the end of 2011 were infected through heterosexual transmission, while injecting drug users only accounted for 1 in 4, and sex between men only accounted for 1 in 5. The HIV-1 strain is the most common strain in China. However, new infections are rapidly increasing through homosexual transmission among men having sex with men. To date, there are over 768 infections were reported in men having sex with men from Anhui province, just one province, with 138 of them newly reported in 2011. To tackle AIDS, China has passed many public policies. Of the major policies, 5 expands, 6 strengthens approach. This was a means to expand IEC activities, surveillance, and testing, PMTCT, comprehensive interventions, and coverage of ART. 6 strengthens means to strengthen blood safety management, health insurance, care and support, rights protections, organizational leadership, and strengthening of response teams. China, though, has seen trends among HIV. It is increasing in men having sex with men and heterosexuals being the highest rate of acquiring HIV, but it's decreasing among needle users or needle injectors. With such a low prevalence, it seems that China has HIV under control. Yet, when HIV tends to mutate, and it does often, this is where China falls. There is a serious lack to access to second-line therapy for people living with HIV who have become more resistant to their treatment regime or who are expecting particularly bad side effects. A study shows that 50% of patients failed first-line therapy after 5 years. Also, limited availability and choice of drug combinations due to a lengthy licensing process means that HIV positive patients in China find it difficult to access the most effective treatment. So, everything changed in 2003, or prior to 2003, when the Chinese government launched China's CARES, CARES, the China Comprehensive AIDS Response. This was a community-based HIV treatment, care, and prevention program. They were started in the 7 central provinces and provided more than 5,000 HIV/AIDS patients with free, domestically produced antiretroviral drugs. At first, China refused to deal with HIV, but the government radically turned around its response to HIV and has implemented a wide range of strategies to target high-risk groups as well as educating the public about preventing HIV. One reason why acquiring HIV through blood transfusions decreased is because China passed the blood donation law of the People's Republic of China. Now, this law was passed in 1998 and has 24 articles that all state and ensure the requirements and safety of blood for medical and clinical use. They safeguard the physical health of blood donors and blood users. That about wraps everything up. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later.